Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PCS 2022 Spring Split. My name is Asterix, and for the first time on the broadcast, I'm joined by Nightstar. Sir, I've been watching you for a while. I know the PCS has been grateful for having you for a while as well. And finally, I get to join in. None of this Clement Chew stuff. It's me and Nightstar to take you through tonight. I think I speak for both of us when I say tonight's going to be exciting now that we're on board with the mission.
Should be absolutely fantastic. I can't wait to get yet another double dose of 7-9. We had that throughout last week, and they didn't play yesterday, so that means we are gifted with another 7-9 doubleheader.
You sound very excited for it, Nightstar. I'm glad you share the enthusiasm running forward. Of course, sitting towards the bottom of the table, you mentioned, but yet one of the teams of the PCS here is we want to open things up and let you guys know, sponsored by CTBC Bank and Caliber. Thank you again. The match starts momentarily, but before that, I want to thank organizer and Riot Games, Carry Life Co, and Garena for PCS League operation and full production. Big shout out to our sponsors once again. Now, as we open things up again, Nightstar, you know, I was saying before, 7-9 are but one of the teams we're looking at here today. And they're sitting towards bottom. We've had a pretty competitive split, and I think coming towards the halfway point, you and I were talking in rehearsal that, yeah, we're kind of at that point. Middle of week 3, playing out. We only have 3 weeks after this week to go. We're at the halfway point where a lot of those standings are being solidified.
Yeah, we're starting to see where all these teams lie when it comes to where they place in tiers, and it looks like this first game is going to be between two teams that are jostling for position to try and make it towards the upper half of that lower tier. So we do have yesterday's results though, and I mean, I feel like there was nothing surprising from yesterday's results. Agreed. And
I think you're spot on, right? Beyond gaming, you know, getting a win against Frank Esports is one thing that I want to push as really important. Beyond, we're middling after a team that came back from Worlds, and we've expected big things from, but other big names are coming to the league. City BC, Deep Cross Gaming, even PSG Talon starting to roll with it as well. So it is nice to see that Beyond kind of get off their recent loss, move back up to an positive score. And as we look at the standings here as well, this is what we're talking about, Nightstar. The PCS starting to cement that top 5, that top 4 even, are running to that halfway point of the split.
Yeah, and PCS has always been a very top-heavy league. And it's really always been like, okay, well, we have the top half, and then they're really jostling for like, hey, who's the actual alpha dog in this group? And on the other side, it's about finding your identity and being able to play to that identity when it comes to the lower half. And I think the two teams we'll see showcase at the start, that's definitely going to be a big focus for both of these teams.
To break through that upper or lower half, either way, for 7-9, 0 and 6, Nightstar opens you up with a quick line that, you know, we are going to see more of 7-9 here today. 2 games to be played. One against Meta Falcon team, one against J-Team later today. I think as well, seeing 2 of Meta Falcon team, Nightstar, that'll give us a bit of an understanding if this team can finally break through their 4-loss streak. And importantly enough, hold a position in mid-tier, because Frank Esports, Impunity are right behind them. And if they don't pick up wins today, they're in a pretty dangerous position as well.
Yeah, and this is actually a very, very important day for Meta Falcon team because of the fact that they have 2 very winnable matchups against M9 and Frank Esports. If they secure those 2 wins, that brings them to 4-4. That is a big difference in trying to separate yourself from that bottom of the table here. And I mean, on the flip side for 7-9, it's merely about trying to find an identity, because they had Arashi in for the first 4 games, and then they actually substituted him out, bringing in Caspiel, and the identities have been very night and day. While the game has slowed down considerably and they've been able to stretch out the game times, they look very uninspiring in those 2 games, though.
To put it lightly, right? I think for Arashi as well, we knew that games kind of came down to him. Feels like with Caspiel, we're getting a similar look. For Sem9, like, we want to look for some advantage as we come into this first game. Now, before we talk more about Sem9, which is going to be a hard task, let's be honest, Meta Falcon team on the other side, we have seen, you know, quite a bit here from Taco up in the top lane. Who else do you want to talk about? I know you're talking about Wen in the rehearsal there, Nightstar. Any impounding thoughts you want to drop before we get into this game?
I think Wen is going to be a very interesting player to highlight in this particular game, just because both of the mid laners in this game have really struggled when it comes to the lane phases. Wen, more so because of his champion pool, I feel, and Lazar on the flip side has just not done particularly well during the lane phase and has absorbed a lot of resources. So for Meta Falcon team, I hope that they're able to really take advantage of this matchup and really attack these solo lanes with 665.
I really hope as well, with Epoch coming back on the roster after the game out against Impunity was there for PSG Talon, that, we still see great things out of this support. Another player we were talking about in that rehearsal where Epoch has looked more serviceable, to say, than someone like Renhao.
Yeah, and I mean, currently the PCS meta has been very interesting when it comes to supports, because we've seen a lot of dosage of Nautilus in our league. And it seems more like, because of the fact that you have a lot of these carry style junglers and a lot of these top laners have, for the most part, strayed away from champions like Gragas to provide engage for their team. A lot of these supports have been tasked with the incredibly difficult role of being the main engage.
I mean, Felia can say the same thing. The Leona picked up here 3 times. Rakan, Thresh there along the side. I'd like to pick up the Nautilus, the most played for Epoch by far, with only one other Brom gain by the side. So feels like there's a straight core identity here for the supports. While we got a bit of a comparison now, looking at 80 carries here, Nightstar, it's kind of interesting because Clayx within the lane, the solo deaths that have come out, have been a bit of a detriment here for 7-9. But again, they're a losing team, so I'm not sure that is necessarily 100% fair.
Yeah, it most certainly isn't fair in that case, as a lot of the times Felia will also leave the lane to try and make a play elsewhere, try and prop up Lazar especially. A lot of times you see him make roams into that lane along with their jungler, whether it's Arashi or Caspiel, in order to make sure Lazar is able to get out of these lane phases. And as such, a lot of the sides have ended up suffering, whether it's Clayx or over in that top side. So it's not too surprising, but for Whale being able to perform when the rest of his team really is about diving forward, he ends up being really the only scaling member on his squad.
I think it's important to note as well, like the dive you talk about, we're seeing such interesting picks coming through from Meta Falcon team. Things like the Renekton mid, a lot of the dive ability in the Rise, the Galio from the mid laner as well, LeBlanc, Silas, Set, all those champions do a very similar thing. Taco even up in the top lane with Camille, Akali, Gragas, like even a Darius game coming through. These interesting picks left out for the other members of the team, while Whale is, on something a little bit more solid. The scaling picks that you just talked about is kind of interesting. So I feel like it's going to be a really diverse dynamic between Clay in this first game, considering that both of them have very different roles running into their teams.
Absolutely. Clayx, hopefully he gets to actually play the game this time around. He's fallen back onto very old school picks like the Xayah as well here. Something we haven't seen necessarily a whole lot in this current meta. And he even played it with the lethality style, which is something that we've seen very, very briefly in its existence.
Yeah, very, very true. As we get closer to this one as well, Nightstar, Meta Falcon team just setting the standards again for this game. Meta Falcon team need to kind of bridge themselves up for the gap that they're now facing against J Team. If they truly want to be, a better playoff team at the moment, keep themselves away from Frank Esports and Impunity. Meta Falcon, their lineup, or rather their schedule coming up, is winnable. You said at the start of the day, 2 very winnable games. Frank Esports comes up a little bit later. Then they verse the likes of J Team that, are middling at the moment. Then it's DCG. Then we get PCG a little bit later in week 4. They'll then verse CFO later in the split. So it feels like this is a very important game for Meta Falcon to kind of define themselves against M9 that have been struggling to really round out their identity with the jungler change coming in as well. shifting gears and trying to find something for this new roster.
Yeah, this is a great matchup for Meta Falcon team to really take advantage of really their only playstyle and try and take it to a perhaps less mechanical squad here. So hopefully they're able to perform in for 7-9. Now it's about seeing if they can actually contest some of these lower teams, because yesterday, or not yesterday, but last week, when they did have Caspiel, it was against Beyond and Impunity, and they did get really out microed. And when it came to those key moments where they had to bring out those small micro mechanics and be able to outperform their opponents, they really failed to do so.
And look, that's a real big issue here, because if you're not getting off the ground running, already that spells trouble. I think the biggest thing for me coming into today is that, I look at the drafts of these two teams in the past, and I looked at 7-9 have been more standard. I see that for Meta Falcon team, they've been more willing to play risk, which is always beneficial against lower tier teams. So I'm kind of excited with that going forward. And on that note, Nightstar, I want you to run me through some of the big picks you expect here in this series, what's going to be contested, and what kind of needs to be taken away. Let's start with Meta Falcon team, because when they're the team that's running more uniques across the board, it feels like it's going to be harder for 7-9 to really identify what they need to take away in this first game.
Yeah, I think for the side of 7-9, they should be looking at trying to pinch out some of the big carries coming in for 665 in the jungle. He seems to play a big part on how they attack the map, and they really do play around this carry style jungler. So things like the Gwen, like the Diana, I would expect to be try and focus down in the ban phase. And on the flip side, I think if you're Meta Falcon team, you can really attack Lazar's champion pool. I think Lazar on the Orianna, if he does end up falling back onto this champion, which he has done quite a bit, it's very good into the compositions that MFT do like to run. If you're going high, heavy dive, it makes it really easy to hit 4-man Orianna shockwaves. And even if you are a little bit behind, the amount of power you get out of 4-man shockwaves is still quite considerable.
I also want to point out that with Lazar raised the concern of getting out of the laning phase itself. So many times has he been bullied around. Not sure if it was the mission game, but Lazar against the Syndra was just destroyed. And it's been, a real issue here for 7-9. So let alone him getting some of those big shockwaves, having the damage to be able to follow suit and actually make them impactful. I like that you're coming back to the jungle pool here of 665. Talking about the Gwen on Meta Falcon team as we wait to get in this game, folks. Thank you again for being patient, as it looks like we are a little bit slow to the chase. This is a flex for Meta Falcon team. And, a really nice pick in the meta right now, where Gwen is the safest blind up at the top lane and a champion that realistically should not be found through. Like, if anyone leaves Gwen open, I don't know, Nightstar. I feel like it's a little bit suspect sometimes.
Yeah, Gwen is just still one of the most powerful champions in the game. I mean, the fact that she's immune says enough. And a lot of these backline champions, just especially without a whole lot of mobility, unless if you're something like an Ahri, if you're something like an Orianna, you just really struggle against the Gwen. When she gets onto you, it's so hard to get her off of you. So Gwen, definitely a very important champion in this matchup for the side of MFT, whereas on the flip side, while Shiromine can play it, it's not exactly because, again, of the fact that they don't tend to play towards their sides. It could be in for a troublesome time, and I think Tryndamere, just in general, in our league in particular, has been overly dominant.
It has. I was surprised. I looked at your pick and bans, and I looked at how often Tryndamere is prioritized. In the LPL, Tryndamere is looked at as a potential option through mid, maybe a response to, like a side lane threat, or we get Gragas, et cetera, et cetera. It's not looked at as highly as PCS, the third most played top laner in the league, along with Gragas. And I'm looking at your win rate as, that's also counting the Lakai mid. Let's not forget. You're at 8 for 2. So 80% win rate after 10 games on Trendavere is kind of nuts when you think about it. I'm surprised it's working so well. And yeah, I feel like that big gap you talk about in the league, the big macro difference between our top 4, top 5, and the rest, being abused. As I've just been told, ladies and gentlemen, we have some tech issues, unfortunately, so we're going to throw to a quick break when we return. Hopefully jumping into that MFT vs. M9 game to kick you off.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
And then Whale staying very, very far back. He's not going to be able to do it this time, as Whale says goodbye.
Yeah, bye, Whale. Okay. Tower should fall, even though Taco does get the Chris does get taken down. Maybe they have a chance now that there's no Zeri in this one, but all those Gangplank barrels are starting to sting here as Leaky goes on a rampage, and MFT might get a bit more. They grab Nesty, getting a little bit of revenge, but they are running fast out of health bars. However, they're still fighting here. Triple kill for the Gangplank and a Quadra.
How are they going to do it when they're the ones that are supposed to find flicks into the back line and they're late to the party?
And look at where the Dragon is that gets bursted down. Taco in a weird position. He has Flash and Moonfall available. 5Ks are going in. The quickness set up the face of Wombo, the Moonfall as well. Right now burning down the back line by 665. The jungler is destroyed. Taco on top of FaZe while the rest of Impunity blow them up.
And a little bit more fortunate, I would say, in his teams. Wako. Lazar.
No, you dead.
So long.
Leong, it feels like Leong does not forgive or forget any slights. Have stayed looking to try and find a pick. Kino is the one that gets caught for just a moment. Meanwhile, the rest of the team comes through. Man, those shock blasters starting to hurt. They've got him corralled, and here comes Kongye looking for an opening around the side. Meanwhile, Enzo is going to get caught right in the middle, but he is tanking through. And they've got the kickback, and Wako goes to the skies and buried 6 feet under. Minji on the run from Uniboy. He might have the shockwave, but it just doesn't matter. And the team is cleaning up. Leong does get a double kill on the back half, and that might be enough to save the fight, but they turn their attention over to Kino and Usha. Big shock blast. They just need a little more, and they will be able to delete him. Driver on the front, chasing down Kino. It doesn't matter what Leong does because he's out of teammates.
There's no one left on his side. Uniboy has the red smite, will be able to use it, reduce some damage, but Leong's still quite strong, but not strong enough.
Hard again with the Baron wave in front of them. Look at Woody. Solar Flare dodged away from by Wako. Gale Force as well. That was smooth. And now too deep is Hana. Woody giving him something to safeguard too, but Husha with the ultimate. A 2-man Moonlight Vigil. Hana burning down. Ticking over the side, he survived. But look at mid lane here. Woody and Chris Carter against the world. Zap down on Kino as Leaky. Snipes down, but Kino is not in kill range. Maybe he is. What a combo out. Leaky with the snipe down and successful in the end.
CTBC Bank is Taiwan's top financial institution, but we're not stopping there. We're crafting an international brand and already have over 260 outlets in 14 countries. We are by your side, ready to embrace the future.
And then Whale staying very, very far back. Was not going to be able to do it this time as Whale says goodbye.
Yeah, bye, Whale. Okay. Tower should fall, even though Taco does get complete. Chris Cottis does get taken down. Maybe they have a chance now that there's no Zeri in this one, but oh, those Gangplank barrels are starting to sting here as Leaky goes on a rampage, and MFT might get a bit more. They grab Nesty, getting a little bit of revenge, but they are running fast out of health bars. However, they're still fighting here. Triple kill for the Gangplank, and a Quadra.
How are they going to do it when they're the ones that are supposed to find flicks into the back line and they're late to the party?
And look at where the Dragon is that gets bursted down. Taco in a weird position. He has Flash and Moonfall available. 5Ks are going in. The quickness set up the face of Wombo's and Moonfall as well. Brenthal burning down the back line while 665. The jungler is destroyed. Taco on top of phase while the rest of Impunity blow them up. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the PCS. My name's Asterix. I'm joined here by Nightstar, and we apologize for the delays. Of course, running a little bit behind here as we've had tech issues for the first game, but we've been told that MFT versus Sem9 is ready to begin. So, Nightstar, we were having a quick chat before we went to the break, talking a little bit about how MFT needed to win. Sem9, of course, the same as well. But a little bit about what we came to expect, and for MFT especially, looking towards those unique picks in this first game, the picks that kind of simulate the great dives that they've been doing.
Yeah, I think the big one is, of course, the Camille Galio that they pulled out at the very start of the split. That is pretty much the epitome of dive composition.
Yeah.
And then they've also mixed it up, of course, with the Renekton and the set in the mid lane. So I think a lot of the mid lane champion pool really showcases that they're just really tunneled in on this dive.
Again, Renekton, Galio, Rise, Set, Silas, LeBlanc, like every single champion that we've listed there helps that out and hits one of those side lanes. So kind of excited to run into this one as MFT look for their win past 2 and 4. Sem9 still without their first win of the split. And we're talking a little bit about how concerned we are for Lazar, especially considering that you know, his Orianna picked up needs to have huge impact. Otherwise, the value of this pick, the value of this mid laner after he falls so far behind isn't really doing too much. So kind of keen to see how we go here. Again, tech issues have been there, and it feels like, you know, we're not quite 100% there yet, Nightstar. You know, I deserve this, dude. In LPL, I never get these pauses. We never go through this. And then finally, I come to PCS and I join another region, and first broadcast, we got about 6. And now we've already started with tech issues, so I'm definitely getting balanced out in my casting life, I feel.
It's casting karma, I guess.
Yeah.
Just
like
bringing the pauses over. But, I mean, I suppose you've dodged a lot of the longer ones over in LPL.
Sure.
So, you know.
There haven't been many over the past couple of years, right? It's actually been pretty good, despite the fact that, you know, like everyone's playing in Shanghai, so that's why. But there's been a couple of series here or there that have been in either Hangzhou or like a different part. So kind of interesting. There we go, folks. Thank you for waiting patiently with us. Yeah, 665 even. Probably waiting for this one to kick off the mightiest yawn I have seen in competitive esports history as we take you in. MFT on blue side, Sem9 on red. Now, Nightstar, we're already talking about this. Look at this. Sem9 are like, we ain't giving you any of that dive.
Yeah, they're taking away the Renekton, the Diana, and of course the Zeri. Zeri is just, it has to be permabanned on red side. Yep. There's been a few cases where it has been banned over on blue side. I believe it's been CFO that's, interestingly enough, been the ones to ban it, but nothing too surprising as we are literally sprinting through pick and ban.
They want to get through it, man. They've waited long enough. Caspiel quickly on your screen, going to pick up the Jarvan here. So standard bottom lane, 2v2s. We've got the S tier junglers already picked up. Standard bans as well with the Gwen going for the blind. No team interested in getting it in the first rotation. And that pick we talked about for Lazar, getting him off his comfort in the Orianna. I like this ban from MFT.
Yeah, and I think the next one, okay, interestingly enough, they went for the Galio instead. I was going to say ban away the Syndra here. Syndra still could get locked in here. I think it fits a very similar role to the Orianna with being able to use the Scatter of the Weak to disengage a lot of these sticky situations. And also just has a lot better laning phase than an Orianna, being able to get better priority to then play around jungle.
I hear you talking about, yeah, that priority, that strong 2v2. So I like it as a nice pick here in the mid lane for Lazar to get something in this game. As they open up, though, MFT, their options stay true. We get the Graves up the top lane for Taco. In the mid lane, one returns to Rise. So we do get that roaming mid lane, I should say, influencing the side lanes while Lazar wants to match this with the LeBlanc. So we still get a strong 2v2 here. We just don't get the Syndra.
Yeah, it's not going to be a Syndra, and it's not going to provide as much utility for the squad here in this case. And it's a very, very focused on just getting picks and trying to snowball. But what I'm a little bit confused about is that it doesn't quite fit in with the rest of the composition where everyone else kind of wants a team fight. And then you just kind of lob in the LeBlanc.
Yeah, it feels like they're destined to play side angles in the fights, right? You know, with the Felios Thresh in the front, you know, Jarvan hidden to the back, Gragas, and then we have ourselves a little LeBlanc. So a cheeky setup at the very least here for Sem9. And if you want to talk about coordination here, I feel like that's what Sem9 have been lacking, whether it's been the draft or whether it's been, you know, the in-game play. So, you know, there's still a lot of questions regardless of the draft here. And we sprinted through it. You said it yourself. We have gone through this draft at an all-time record, and I'm glad because it means we just get quicker into the game. No more tech pauses to worry about as they seem to be fixed. So Nightstar, final thoughts on the draft. You already talked a little bit about Sem9. MFT have the rise once again to start impacting with their semi-global pressure.
Yeah, I think I'd be a lot more comfortable with MFT's composition here. And for the side of Sem9, this LeBlanc pick really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But if Lazar is able to really get going in the early phase of the game, being able to snowball, get a few kills for himself, then I can certainly change my mind in that regard. But as it stands, MFT, a lot more of a standard composition, which is a little bit surprising from their side, but I do like the comp.
Okay. Well, you said something curious for me. Get Lazar ahead seems to be the name of the game then for Sem9, because for Lazar, his laning phase, I've noticed, hasn't really been great. He's been bullied out. He's been CS gapped multiple times already this split. And it's been a bit of a learning curve for him. So I want to see if he can do well here up against Wen, because for both these teams, towards the bottom of the standings, you and I were talking about MFT being 2 and 4. They really need to kind of bridge that gap up to beyond, up to the J team of the league. And this is a really important matchup for them today to get what should be an expected win.
Yeah, and for the side of Sem9, it's about getting some steam under you, because there's just really nothing going for the squad so far. And while the past 2 games have looked slightly better when it comes to, okay, well, they've been able to extend the games longer. The issue has been they don't have the real big impacts coming out from a player like Arashi when he was in the lineup. Being able to have that coin flip ability when you're up against harder teams is a little bit more necessary if you are the underdog squad.
Yeah, big burden on Caspiel, you know, running into this game again, as it seems like they want to continue running him. Tucker going for a bit of an invade here as he gets spotted out. This is just the top laner, but being a bit of a nuisance. I feel like this guy's been watching the shy, wants to make sure Caspiel gets a little bit lower on his clear, but it won't matter. Red buff Smite and continues to take the buff around. So going to be slower here to the top side, as Shuramain had to stay behind to get a longer leash.
Yeah, and I mean, the nice part about that play coming in from Taco is that it does force out the flash, or not the flash, but the smite from Caspiel here.
True. And
it will result in being a little bit slower. So we'll see how he adapts. I feel like as the Jarvan, in this composition, you want to try and attack the lanes early on at a level 3 or a level 4 gank before you hit level 6, and then hit that lane again, of course, at level 6 once you have the ultimate. Thankfully, he doesn't have to deal with a whole lot of mobility in this game, which he had a lot of trouble against last week, where he took it into Beyond's composition, and they had Ari, they had Ezreal, they had so much mobility. He won't have that issue this time around.
And so if we're talking about attacking the lanes again, you talk about Lazar needing to get ahead early. Feels like that's going to be the lane that we continue to watch out as he's up towards the bottom side now. Clearing away wolves as Lazar just trading off with one in the meantime. My curiosity stems towards the bottom side because that's where 665 is as well. So it does feel like there is an opportunity here for 665 to be in a good position to kind of counteract this angle as Caspiel starts moving into the mid lane, but it will just be Scuttle for now. We'll keep track of jungles here, Nightstar, because again, it does feel like the early game, especially at level 3, is where it's all at. And even one flashing away, trying to bait in Lazar, but forces a flashing response. Lazar has to burn his own, and that'll be an even trade now for MFT.
Yeah, and the problem here is Lazar's level 3, Wen's level 4, so a slight level advantage here actually could make the difference. Is you're just going to have just that extra little bit of damage, and now Taco steals away the Scuttle Crab, which makes for a very, very sad J4.
He's still level 3. He's going to have to move up towards that Krug camp. That'll give them the experience, but there's a level lead here still for 665 as he moves down to the bottom lane. He'll have his own Krugs to go to. Should be a camp ahead. Should be a bit of tempo ahead as well. So overall, I feel like for MFT here, Nightstar, it's a nice little trade when it was a mistake by one walking up to Lazar.
Yeah, he ended up sort of playing a little bit too far up in that situation, but all in all, it plays into their favor as they're able to get now advantages in mid and jungle when it comes to EXP.
Oh, Epoch, nice dredge line here. They get the root down. 665's on the way as well. He has his flash available as Death Sentence is blocked. The Ignite ticks away on Klex, and he survives.
They're setting up for the dive.
One is behind enemy lines. He may not have his flash, but he's got the damage to deal with. Velia gets rooted in place as well, and this Thresh ain't going nowhere. First blood over to MFT with the altered aggression.
And doesn't even take a whole lot of effort to get that kill secured. There is when comes back into lane with the teleport and immediately just walks bot lane after he crashes that wave. So now he could get collapsed on.
Well, that's good flag and drag. Lazar now in with the chain. It connects. Nice combo here from the 2v2 of Sem9. One with one tick away, and Caspiel gets a kill. So a good response here from Sem9 in their strong lanes.
Yeah, Caspiel with a brilliant response there, cutting off Wen before he gets all the way back into the lane. And that is a massive kill, right? Because now he's going to get denied this wave of the XP. He's going to lose a couple of those minions to the tower as well. So all in all, a great recovery coming in from Sem9 to try and even out things, especially for this mid lane, which we highlighted needs to get ahead.
And it is ahead, right? That assist comes through. The kill does go to Caspiel, but Lazar's actually up 15 CS. We're going to cancel that.
Yep.
There's about 4 minions that are going to go down here to win, but still close to 10 CS. A very big deal when Lazar's laning has been something we've been critical of.
Yeah, and even more importantly, you have that level difference, right? So, and as a result, when with the Unsealed Spellbook on the rise, has opted into the Ignite to try and reestablish kill pressure in the event Lazar tries to go in for the kill with that level 6 advantage.
Might even look for it in the bottom lane, close to Realm Warp. That's 1 minion's worth of experience. As Caspiel with the lens, not going to spot them out. The flag and drag is available. They spot him, 665 behind him as well. Safeguard, Rune Prison down, and it's a Sonic Wave that connects all the way over the wall. Lazar with the great root, though, may have saved his jungler's life as 665 going deep. Lazar saves the day. The weak member of Sem9 getting a good response while MFT collapsed and Klex and Philia walked into a trap. Epoch wants another dredge line, and even under the turret, he should not feel safe with MFT on the hunt.
They're on the hunt, but thankfully, the wave isn't quite there to the tower, so it would make for a very difficult dive in that situation, but it also still denies Klex all of those minions and EXP. So right now, we're just going tit for tat for the most part, and I mean, the biggest losses have been really just these minions dying to the tower or getting denied away as they're forced into these recalls.
I mean, every single time Lazar seems like he's pushing out the wave, then making the move as a response. So nice to see here from Sem9. They don't have the gold lead, but they do have my confidence play. Again, Caspiel, Lazar, great early game. MFT still responding, but I want to see how far they can take this LeBlanc. You did say, Nightstar, that condition for this game for Sem9 was Lazar getting those kills, that early access on LeBlanc, and he started to do that. Maybe not important. Wow. MFT still hitting bot lane. I'm going to bring it back. Lazar is worth talking about because we never talk about it on broadcast.
At least not in a positive light.
There you
lately.
go.
So, and right now he has the sword food, so he does plenty of damage. As there aren't a whole lot of resistances built up on the side of MFT, of course.
Yeah.
But I feel like there should start to be some magic resistance being built up, because you look at Shiromine's build, he's actually going for, I believe, the Everfrost build instead of just going for the full tank, because he does have that Amta, which is interesting. But Caspiel is also in an interesting predicament.
Yeah, he's been Dredgeline back in. The Flag and Drag over to use the kickback Sonic Wave as well. Philia saving the day with the Dark Passage. Ignite going down, but Whale snipes him with the Super Mega Death Rocket. And Philia, the next target. Zap blocked by Blue Buff. What a friendly encounter, but 665 makes short work of Philia. Flashes the IG emote with Epoch and LGD. MFT styling now that they've found their win.
Probably one of the best flipping junglers on that IG roster. Of course, Ning, as he would oftentimes go for these.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's, I guess that's where MFT are finding their momentum, because I tell you what, when it all looks good for Lazar, for Caspiel, like, again, it feels like MFT are really capitalizing on this jungler being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, Caspiel, for the most part, has been able to identify where he needs to be, but just a couple slip-ups here or there, and when you are, of course, the underdog team, these slip-ups are going to be very costly because of the fact that you don't expect to get a whole lot of leads. We get to see the replay. Caspiel just goes a little bit too far forward into the river, and he doesn't have that mid-priority quite yet when able to make the faster rotation, and Felia is just really a casualty of war in that instance as well, because he just wants to help out his jungler, and his jungler brings 3 goons.
I mean, as well, the Super Mega Death Rocket adding so much impact. Like, Whale, his ability to be near that fight, whether he's in it or not, as we see a Flag and Drag again, Cataclysm through the mid lane, Ignite placed down by Wern, but
here too.
I think this is turning, and even though Lazar's done great damage on top of Wern, he'll be taken down. Golden in the nick of time, and Caspiel wants the flag, the Ignite down, he dies, Super Mega Death Rocket avoided in the mid lane as well. Nightstar, we are heating up in this game, and 665 wants to kill Felia again. There's the play, the flash forward. Epoch helps him out, and 665 now on a killing spree. Make it double. 4, 1, and 3. MFT styling.
Man, 665, we talked about him being the carry jungler, and Lee Sin can certainly do that, as he is just absolutely taking over this early game. And MFT have shot out to a 4K gold lead at just 11 minutes into the game.
I don't know how it got to this point when you have such a big gold lead. What has just been that, as you called it, IG trading going on?
Yeah, they're just constantly looking for these flips. At the very least, Caspiel trying to look for that level 6 play. We highlighted, hey, at level 6, you do have a decent amount of burst damage. Not quite as much as something like a LeBlanc Lee Sin combination, but it's pretty respectable nonetheless. But, I mean, it's just, this Lee Sin's just too far ahead. Level 7, he's got the level advantage, levels up once more after that fight as well, so he's just got a massive gold and EXP advantage. And the biggest benefactor of all this action towards the bottom half of the map as well has been Taco. Like, you look at what he's been doing, he has Hullbreaker completed, he's got 1,000,000 CS over Shiromine. Shiromine is also going for the carry version of Gragas. Like, it's the carry version just gets punished a lot harder against this Graves, and really you're just trying to find those burst casks, but at the same time the cask interaction with the Cataclysm interaction is not very synergized.
Yeah, it is definitely anti-synergy. We've got another fight going though. 665 in a bit of trouble. Wanted Lazar once again, who gets Ophelia the same box down though. But look at 665, they're using everything to kill him.
Shutdown.
But at least into a choke. Clayx is doing some dirty work as Realm Warp gets them out. MFT in the wrong place at the wrong time this time. It's Sem9 who get a kill.
Sem9 get a massive pick there because that kill goes into the hands of Clayx, and a lot of the times when we were looking for that earlier invade onto that blue buff coming in from MFT, Clayx couldn't make that rotation over because he wasn't level 6. That's why the rocket comes out and has more impact in that situation. But with that kill, he gets a lot of EXP back into his hands. He's caught up on CS as well, so that is an amazing turn of events for the side of Sem9.
I just love we got the back end of that replay. Obviously, observers are MFT fans. They don't want to see 665 going down. But look, at the very least, a really nice play here from Sem9, but we have to remember, coming back to reality, Herald's there. I'm wondering if it's going to get the full charges. Nope, smite down, Caspiel denies it, and yeah, maybe another Ning play coming through. As with that Herald denial as well, I feel like for Sem9, options are starting to open up again. Despite being 4,000 gold down, we're getting past turret plating here as well. And I want to point out, Nightstar, that you did talk about, you know, what can be dangerous here for Sem9, and Caspiel's ult almost up and available. Lazar close to his first item too. I think there are options that will create itself around these next couple of objectives.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the nice part is Clayx now keeping in pace with Whale, has the Gale Force completed alongside Whale's Gale Force. So that'll be very important to keep track of because, again, limited mobility when it comes to the backline for both of these teams. Lazard doesn't exactly count as backline in my opinion, but more fighting.
Oh, they flashed away. Cataclysm Bird as well with the Graviton follow-up too. The ult from Clayx once again. MFT stepping way too far forward. Sem9 are starting to bridge into this mid-game quite nicely.
Yeah, in the early phase of the game, we talked about Caspiel perhaps overextending himself and getting caught out. Now it's on the flip side. 665 ends up saying, okay, I'm Lee Sin, I'm ahead, there's no way I just die here. But he doesn't exactly have a whole lot of defensive stats, even though he does a lot of damage. So he gets caught out, ends up dying yet again, and that's going to take a lot of the momentum out of MFT.
I mean, it's slowed down by the last couple of plays. And they've got a dragon, Sem9. So with the Mountain Dragon in their back pocket as well, delaying that soul point that is going to be an Ocean this game, it does feel, again, we can be more positive on Sem9 than a 5k gold lead suggests. We need to keep track of Lazar, who picked up the kill in that last fight, in that last pick, I should say. He's now got the Ludens. We have 4 Mythics there, Nightstar. And the Everfrost, even though I know you're not a big fan of the AP Gragas in the top side, that's at least picked up now. So matching MFT quite nicely, there is going to be a lot more damage Sem9 can play with.
Yeah, and what... Okay. Caspiel.
Okay, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it doesn't matter. Oh my god, he's denied. He is denied, and Wen joins in. So what I was saying about Sem9 doesn't apply if MFT look for picks themselves.
Yeah, it's really just going to be a battle of picks, right? And because of how fast-paced this game has been when it comes to just try and generate kill after kill, there hasn't been a whole lot of quiet time to allow for these teams to set up vision, to set up pockets of safe places to actually play around. That's why these picks just keep on coming forth.
True, there's a lot of turnover in those brushes, like... Not enough time, he said. Even Lazar walking up to the wave. Sonic Wave is going to connect as well. He's following suit. Lazar has to double distortion backwards. Stop flexing it, 665. We get it. And I wanted to say something in this game that MFT, they're also, while the trades go back and forth, and I'm being optimistic on Sem9, every single time the Caspiel shows up or you see that Sem9 set up for a play, They're losing that pressure on the other side of the map. 204 CS for Taco. He has not played League of Legends. He's played PvE. He's literally been playing Elden Ring. So that's a level 12 Graves at the side lane. That is 50 CS over his counterpart.
Yeah, and you just consider 207 CS. We're not even 20 minutes in. Like, you would consider that to be the mark at 20 minutes, but he is above and beyond right now. And I mean, he's completely set up to take over the game.
I really don't know if they can kill him. Whole Breaker in a solo lane is pretty strong.
And
maybe with 3
Lifesteal.
people. Yeah, the lifesteal you mentioned, Eclipse is there. Everfrost locks him down. Explosive cast is good, but he still has his ultimate and collateral damage getting out. But now with the mid laner in as well, explosive damage to take down that solo lane Graves. A shutdown over to Shiro Mine, and Sem9 do it again.
Yeah, they're able to find the pick. Really, really nice there. Unfortunately, Taco, you know, he's going to be a lot harder to take down next time around because he now gets himself the Merc Treads. And again, a lot of the burst damage coming in from the composition is going to be front-loaded on this Magic front with the Everfrost Gragas and the LeBlanc. And it will make things more and more difficult for the LeBlanc later on because of the fact that they are running double AP right here. And that's why this mid-game is going to be very important because at the moment, there's not a whole lot of magic resistance.
That's right.
Come 5-10 minutes from now, that magic resistance will come through and make things harder for
He's
Lazar.
going to play in the mid lane. Whale has to get away. Galeforce DP right in the spot as well. Clayx getting depth charge in the back line. All they need to finish it off. And it's 6-6-5 with a double kill already. Sonic Wave resonating strike. He won't get the triple. He wanted it badly, but he'll be denied. And just as Sem9 set up for their next bridging play, it's MFT who once again slapped them in the face as that gold extends 8,000 and Nightstar Taco is back doing the dirty work in his side.
He is just playing Elden Ring. He's just constantly just doing his own thing, hitting these towers. Meanwhile, everyone else is playing League of Legends. And objective bounties are starting to come up, but I feel like it's already starting to get really out of hand.
I mean, how do you get out of the base here? Like, all of a sudden, it's a 10k gold lead. Even more
Where are the
at
towers?
19 minutes. And yeah, Taco pushes in. All waves belong to MFT. And as Caspiel runs into a jungle that doesn't belong to him, 665 threatens him out. Lucky to get the Gromp with the smite, but you know, at this point for Sem9, they may have 2 objectives under their belt, but every single time MFT look like they're just striking back harder. And this is what we talked about. MFT needed to put on a really good performance here against S9 to show that they are worthy of, you know, holding a potential playoff spot. 2-4 in the league right now. This is a must-needed win.
Certainly looks good for them at the moment here. And now that Baron has finally spawned, that of course will be the next big thing for the side of MFT, because usually when you look at that first Baron, you're trying to crack those tier 2 towers, but already we have all the tier 2 towers gone. So now it's just kind of a waiting game because it's so hard to just break the tier 3s without the help of Baron buff, especially this early in the game.
Yeah, I mean, only 20 minutes in, but speaking of Baron as well, MFT with a pretty fast one. They've got to clear out that one ward, but apart from that, Sem9 will be completely blind. And playing time around Baron, benefiting the whole Breaker Graves, of course. So I want to also point out, these 3 items, I just missed that one. Black Cleaver now picked up too. So those waves do not last long whatsoever. And look, the rest of MFT around Baron, while Taco threatens the side lane, waiting for Sem9 to step on vision.
Yeah, and the big issue, of course, is the fact that Taco, he's going to demand pressure from multiple players from the side of Sem9 because of how far ahead he is. And I do like the Black Cleaver buy, actually, in this case, because of the fact that they are running triple AD, but Shiromine coming under fire here.
An easy dredge line, Sonic Wave, Explosive Cast, buying him time. Caspiel on the flank, look out for Whale. He's going to get dunked on, and Clayx is right near him, positioning of
Great
MFT's AD carry. It cost them so much. The Realm Warp to get out of there. And Taco doesn't have a lane, so Sem9 defending well.
Now, Taco trying to get pushed up, but it's just way too hard. Unless if he gets this kill, that would certainly change things.
I mean, Lazar does no damage against him. Look at this whole Breaker Grave. He runs in for his burst. That's
He just
meant to
ignores
hurt.
them.
And yeah, completely laissez-faire. against Lazar. There goes the inhibitor turret, and Lazar can't do anything against him.
Oh my lord. Of course, also has the lifesteal coming in from the Eclipse, so that means he's able to heal up on whatever jungle camps are his now as well. So, yeah, it's looking great for Mr. Taco.
Yes.
He's really exclusively played PvE.
Yeah, and the whole of Sem9 have to send an army to try and get him now. Before, Lazar was the finishing touch, but I wonder this time, taking a lot of damage from Shuraman as Caspiel willing to come in, end of the line once more. The burst comes through, Super Mega Death Rocket won't do a thing, and it's a shutdown on Taco once again. When nothing's being taken, Sem9 are still getting resources on the map despite being so far behind.
Yeah, and this is what we did like to see from Sem9 in the 2 games that they had Caspiel, was that they were able to slow down the game when it came to trying to mitigate risk and capitalize on what they were being offered, and in that case, they got a free taco right in that moment. Because MFT were on a reset timer, they weren't able to respond immediately to turn towards something like the Baron buff, and now we're going to have a bit of a dragon dance here, but because it's happening so fast, Lazar's not quite able to set up flanks.
Well, I want to see if Sem9 stick their guns on this, though, because Wern behind them with a Realm Warp in front, stolen easily. Ooh. MFT just walk right into Caspiel with a Cataclysm. But you know what? It already looks lost here as Lazar's poked out. Shuraman in the front line. The LeBlanc beaten down bloody. Taco finally joins in, and this is the result. Flash kick to the face. MFT are done with Sem9 in their opening game.
Yeah, that's going to be certainly the beginning of the end here, as they should be able to get themselves, well, one more kill. But there is an open inhib, of course, and they can go ahead and just turn their attention over to the Baron buff as well. Death Timer's not quite there yet for them to actually straight up end the game, but surely they will turn their attention over to the Baron buff. They seem to be pretty slow moving around, so I guess we just get to dance again.
It's a very low game day, I think I've seen from a team. So MFT probably just not feeling confident to go through, to push either for an end or, start the Baron. Look at the fight again, because it didn't look good at all for S9.
It absolutely did not. Caspiel dives in to try and set things up, but again, with this composition, because you have yourself a LeBlanc and you have an AP Gragas, it's really about trying to set up flanks, being able to generate picks, and because they weren't able to generate a man advantage at the start of this fight, that's when, well, the better team fight composition on the side of MFT really just gets to sing all over them, and I mean, they already had a gold advantage coming into that fight, and it's pretty easy pickings straight up.
So I want to see them finish it off, because it's 12,000 gold lead, but it really doesn't feel like it with how cautiously MFT are playing. The fact that Sem9 are out of their base with such a disadvantage are kind of speaking to the fact that they're getting more control than should ever be allowed. 665 walking into enemy brush right now. Caspiel going to run from the dredge line. And now we begin the Baron dance you want to talk about. There's a couple of wards in the pit. One will be spotted out. Control ward in the tri-brush behind. And waves being matched while Taco goes back to the solo lane. MFT deciding on whether they're going to take this fight.
Yeah, now it just comes down to how are you going to be able to check the Baron pit? Oh, they're just going.
They are. Caspiel runs in with the ulti. Epoch is by himself for now. Sonic Wave connects from 665. Won't take it as the poke's coming through. This is a 12k gold lead, ladies and gentlemen. Taco is in the side lane by himself with 4 completed items. Inhibitor's going to be exposed, and Sem9 now making their way back, and Baron's there, so this is what MFT wanted to do about 5-10 minutes ago.
Yeah, Caspiel, it seems like he understands that they need to try and force a play, but unfortunately he uses the Cataclysm on a Nautilus, and they just aren't able to burst them down because they're just not there fast enough.
Yeah, he's just dead. Sonic Wave over the wall. We're going to take a Realm Warp, and one brings Whale with him. Caspiel waiting for that last flag and drag, but Whale takes him down. And meanwhile, it was the top laner in Taco heading towards the next turret, so MFT turned back to the Baron again. Nice and easy does it.
Yeah, and this time they should just commit and secure this Baron, as there's not a whole lot Sem9 can do. They're stuck at home, really stuck in quarantine here. They just are not given any ability to leave.
And it's sad because we kind of saw that this game was coming off to a really nice start. It was Caspiel finding good picks, Lazar getting ahead, and we talked about the condition of this team being in the fact that this LeBlanc wanted to snowball, wanted to really find good opportunities to get picks in this game, but even despite that, 665 came back with a vengeance. He threw away a little bit, and then the rest of MFT picks kept following suit. So it's been such a roller coaster of emotion, this game. But I think we have seen some development from Sem9. They're just still not at that point where they understand how to transition.
Yeah, not quite all on the same page. When it comes to map rotations here, it really just seems a bit discombobulated, and I mean, it looks somewhat okay right now because they're against MFT, who haven't really exemplified too much themselves, but
that's true. Oh, Caspiel going to give it to them though, and a nice step charge onto the back line. Clay-X, Gale forcing away both summoners available. Taco joins in. There's the Realm Warp as Clay burns all his summoners in front of 4 members, and MFT take their pickings. Now running straight through the base. This looks like finally we're going to end this game.
Yeah, looks like this game will come to a end. At long last for MFT, they secured this victory, which certainly bodes well for them and for Sem9. Same old so far.
Yeah, 0-7 here as they move to the halfway point of the PCS spring split. MFT move it up to that halfway point in the standings. Try and take themselves a more opportune playoff spot. A much needed win again, and that ends the 4-loss streak of MFT, which, you know, has got to feel good.
Absolutely, especially when there's super young players as well. Of course, this is our collegiate squad, and when it comes to, I feel like when it comes to younger players, momentum is really key in having and being able to play off of that and have a positive mood as a result. Maybe veterans, you're able to absorb losses a lot better, but I would say it's a lot more important when you are that younger team.
Yeah, and again, like, people believe in this team. They see the development. So the fact that it's not just the youth coming through, but it's also that they're developing the experience in the split. The games like we saw there, working on how to close it out. All important lessons here for MFT. 3 and 4 is a much better scoreline to be running into the middle of this split in with. I was concerned if Meta Falcon team were starting to lose control of that game, if they continued to take out losses. Teams like Impunity, Frank Esports, even Hurricane Gaming, even Sem9 with the win that they could have found there, would have been a very, very different league. So, again, much needed. But I think as we go back and diagnose this game a little bit, what we know is that junglers played a huge part in that early game. And you talk about Caspiel on the Java and like what he needed to do. There was a lot of movements around Lazar in that early game that looked successful for Sem9, but just didn't, I guess, transition.
Yeah, and I did like the jungle mid interaction coming in from Sem9 this time around. It looked like they weren't as heavily invested on needing Felia to come over to assist them this time. So that bodes well for them moving forward. However, the composition, it didn't feel like it all lined up with this draft. Going for the LeBlanc, trying to make sure that Lazar gets a strong laner. Unfortunately, it didn't really line up with the composition. Then you have this Gragas that went to AP, also has dis-synergy with this Jarvan pick. So it was kind of all over the place with the picks, and you saw that really reflected towards the mid and late game when they tried to get back into the game with these team fights.
Where, you know, the 80 carry on MFT was in such a good position where it's like, okay, if you're not landing onto him, if this, you talk about the synergy not lining up, you know, someone like Whale loved it. You know, explosive cast use, okay, that's down. All I have to worry about is Cataclysm. And at the end of the day, it really clean stuff here. I think there's a lot to break down from the way the early game went down, but there's a lot of quiet earners on MFT. It was Taco up in the top lane on the Graves. It was Whale on the Jinx. Both of them playing really cleanly and getting so much gold off of these little trades that just built them up in the game.
Absolutely. The side lanes performed very, very well. Wen had a solid performance. And I mean, 665 really took control of the game. And yes, he also tried to toss away the game. We talked about the comparison. It's Ning, you know, he's going to have these moments, right? And it's about being able to build up enough lead for your sides or in your solo lanes to then be able to take some of these blows later on.
Yeah, again, 665. I feel like he, despite him, as you just said, trying to throw away the game, it's an MVP candidate. 665, 9, 3, and 10, still one of the most impactful members. And I want to say, I'm glad they're running Epoch again. I think this is the strongest support by far and was really, really, fundamental to the win there as well. We saw Renhao only one game, and I'm glad that we've seen Epoch again. But no, forget MVPs, forget support and jungle. Who are we talking about? We're talking about Whale on this Jinx.
I mean, Whale in these teamfights, he was the big piece that won them the teamfights, but I do feel like 665 did get the short end of the stick. Perhaps he ran it down a few too many times for the MVP awarders to actually give him the...
They kicked him off, man. They saw the way he was playing that mid game, and they said, "You're a little bit sus, and we're gonna have to put you aside." So congratulations to Whale. Again, huge amount of damage, but the big part is positioning. You just mentioned how Whale was in those team fights. I think his positioning and the cleanliness of how he pathed. Not even the right word. What am I saying? No, so you know what I'm trying to say. Positioning was key.
Yes. Whale, he played very, very cleanly, and while he didn't have to do a whole lot, you still, like, if you're given the alley-oop, you still have to put it through the net.
True. That's right. You can always decide, like 665 almost did, to throw it behind you back into your own net. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go on a break. That's only one game here out of the PCS night. Coming up for you next, we got Hurricane Gaming versus DCG. I'm curious about this one, especially in the drafts. We'll be right back after this.